I'm Denise.
I'm Angela.
Welcome to this new episode of our project analysis.
And today we'd like to share about this project in Clementi, Faber Residence.
I'm sure you guys have heard so many good things about other projects, so we want to start off something different. We want to share with you a really honest opinion about Faber Residence itself.
Yeah.
It's a low-rise development, which of course, we want to address some of the concerns that a lot of buyers have. So before we start, I just wanted to share, I actually met Angela at a unit. There's
At
actually
a
a low-rise
low-rise
development
development.
in Sembawang. So I
Yes.
sold the unit and I was so relieved after I sold it. I was really grateful and I remembered her for it because she was really aggressive to push my unit and all that. And I was so happy it was a ground floor unit. And then thereafter, what happened to that unit?
Very nicely. Just last year, I'm also very grateful that I managed to help my buyer, turn by my seller to sell off the unit and still make profits.
Yes, that's the main thing.
So just to share that low-rise development do make profits.
So some of the red flags that I think a lot of people notice is number one, it's not very near the MRT. I
Yes,
actually did a
correct.
check. It's roughly about 24 minutes walk to MRT. I mean, will you walk 24 minutes to MRT?
Definitely not. Given Singaporeans, there's more spoiled, right? I think even 5 minutes walk, right, they will also think that it's very far. Don't say 24 minutes.
And personally myself, I'm a Jurong person. I've been traveling this AYE for almost 40 years of my life. So essentially, right, this development is right next to AYE itself. So actually, if you drive past, on the left side is really like a 树林 right now at the moment where it's building. On the right side, you see like Park Rivera, Whistler Grand, Twin View. You can see it flanked like left and right side. So it's very, very obvious one. So essentially, we also want to talk about whether low-rise development, does it mean low visibility? Nobody can
correct.
actually see
cannot find your project.
development.
And also another reason will also be the units, is it too near to each other? So when we talk more into the site plan for Faber Residence, is it too overcrowded for this project itself? Okay, let's move on to the first thing, which is the 20 meters block to block distance. I would say that looking at the site plan, right, you can see that it's actually all quite packed together. Some of the units, right, is actually just about 20 meters apart. But again, of course, we also have some nice views that is actually overseeing the park connector leading to the reservoir.
Leading to the reservoir.
Yeah.
Definitely, right, along the AYE, I do notice that there's really not much here. So even if there's a development, I don't think I can actually see what the development is. In fact, when I drive past
I think now we drive past, I think we can only see like a lot of landed houses.
Yes.
I would say that it's definitely not prominent because actually on the other side of the AYE,
High-rise.
which just now Denise share, right, is actually all the high-rise where like Park Rivera and Whistler Grand is. So when you drive across, right, in order to spot Faber Residence, it will not be so prominent, I would say. Yeah.
And like I mentioned, it's quite a lot of walk to the MRT itself. Even for those who stay in Park Clementi, also you have to walk already about 13 minutes because I've sold units at Park Clementi. And then that time I told the buyer it was walking distance. And then when I tried walking myself, I was like, wow, it's going to be quite challenging. So I can't imagine Faber. So I believe those who buy
Faber is confirm cannot walk.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you are actually looking for a project that is actually walking distance to the MRT, right, Faber Residence may not be a choice for you. But of course, if you just share a bit more, right, actually at Faber Residence, there's one good point. Although it's not walking distance to MRT, but there's a very near bus stop that's directly outside the project itself.
Yeah.
But MRT, I think regardless for own stay or investors, is a preferred choice for most of the buyers.
So definitely for those who buy into Waterfront Faber or Faber Residence itself, essentially you like that low-rise area. I mean, essentially you work in the CBD and all that. And then sometimes when you go home, you want to have like resort style kind of living.
More quiet because it's actually the landed enclave. So we will say that it's away from all the bustling traffic noise because it's very quiet, very peaceful environment. Yeah.
Even for the low-rise development that we saw, actually every time I went for viewing, I did feel that it's a lot like a resort.
It's very nice. Actually, the project is nautical. I personally actually like the project in Sembawang a lot because I think that it's very cozy. Once you go there, very relaxed, Although my one is a ground floor unit, indeed not very good because it's actually facing a wall.
So that's why unit choice is actually very important.
Very important.
Unit choice will determine also in future when you want to resell, will the buyer still want to be able to pay certain premiums and all that. But I think definitely we did feel it's a bit like going for chalet, that kind of feeling. And it really does look like a chalet because it's named after a ship. And then right next door is actually Sembawang Shopping Centre. So it's actually pretty convenient. And it's also not near MRT.
Not near MRT as well.
But still quite popular in the sense that there are still buyers who like such developments.
So for Faber itself, not near MRT but have a bus stop, it still have a certain type of convenience. But of course, compared to the project that is nearer to the MRT, of course, this one is one of the red flag that actually people might not want to consider.
Personally, for me and Angela, we have actually sold a lot of units in like Park Clementi. I've got a couple of clients that actually bought Park Clementi and I've already helped them to exit. And also not just that, but but also condos in the West Coast side like 103. So we're actually very, very familiar with the areas and all that, the layouts in the different developments, as well as the rental yield, which later we will share with you guys. And if you guys felt that our content is helpful, do like and subscribe.
Yes, help us to subscribe. Click on to the notification bell also. So Denise, since we have actually have experience helping our sellers to sell some of the units at Park Clementi and other bigger projects, right? Do you think that actually bigger developments is better, easier to sell?
So basically, right, when you have a bigger development, so let's say I'm actually comparing this with Park Clementi. I actually sold a 2-bedroom there, and it did take me more than 6 months to actually sell. And the surprising thing is mine is one of the cheapest unit in the entire development, and I still took so long. So when you have a big development, yes, one thing is that it's very eye-catching. You know, when people drive past AYE, they'll see, wow, what is this new development? They want to maybe rent a place, they may want to buy. But one thing is also competition. You have a lot of competing units. So easily, right, this is actually a list that I did up for my client to show them where we are standing, and there were easily about 100 units selling at that same point of time.
For 2 bedroom only?
For 2-bedroom, yeah, and it's 2 bed, 2 bath, not even 2 bed, 1 bath. So this was 2 bed, 2 bath. There was about 100 units. So essentially, people will be like, okay, I'll view a unit first, then I'll look at 8th floor.
But is it because of your facing? Where's
It's
your
also
facing of the unit?
It's also facing. A lot of people prefer landed facing, whereas mine was actually facing the highway. It's also because of the entry point. But my client still made a decent, almost 250K of profit over that 3-year period itself, even though it did take a while to actually sell out. So actually, when choosing a development, whether it's big or small, it's important to have a good advisor like us who has been around the resale market to then guide you on what will be popular also when you want to resell or flip down the line.
Correct.
So it's very important to get such insight so you don't anyhow buy due to FOMO.
Yeah, and also like certain price, right? We were actually also able to advise you, right, that you know that this unit may be much cheaper, but when you come to exit, is it that easy compared to you pay a little bit more for another layout type, you know, for the same bedroom type, but it's a different layout, a different floor plan, or even a different facing or stack. This is actually very crucial.
So essentially, like just now what we talked about, low rise. If I drive past the AYE.
So this one is actually where exactly Faber Residence is. If like Faber are familiar, this is AYE. And actually on this side, right, this small little building here is actually part of Park Rivera. So now as we drive past, like what Denise said, right, it's actually a forest lah. So once actually when it built, right, I will say that it may be more visible. Yeah, but of course compared to those very high rise, definitely it's not so prominent.
Yeah. But I think it will still look quite nice because of the facade. I think the facade is very similar to what GoCo likes to give, more brownish tones and all that. So it will definitely stand out. You know, basically when people drive past, they'll see, this sleek brown building on the left
color.
side.
I think that facade will still look very nice because I mean we have a very established GoCo land as the developer, so you know a lot of their finishing, you know, is actually very nice. Yeah. So much about actually going on the red flag. So let's have a little bit more info on where Faber is. So as we all shared on earlier on, right, the location, right, is at the Faber Walk area. One good thing is that as we shared just now on the site plan, right, the good thing is that none of the units are actually facing the AYE facing. Yeah. So the estimated TOP, right, will be actually in 2029 first quarter. And total, as I mentioned earlier on, is about 399 units. And of course, the developer is by GoCo Land itself.
And then what happens is that they have 399 car park lots, means 1-to-1. So I think this is very good because as this area is a bit inwards, I believe most of the people staying here might be driving. And then what happens is that they also have EV lots. So instead of needing to apply or whatever, they already have EV lots. And I think this is actually very considerate of the developer because a lot of condos are trying to go green.
For the unit mix, right, GoCo Land this time around also didn't build any more 1-bedroom. So it start off with the 2-bedroom all the way to 5-bedroom. Mostly I would say it's actually the 3-bedroom and the 4-bedrooms lah. So for this spread, right, I think that for this unit mix, the developer is definitely based on Clementi itself because of a lot of the upgraders from the HDB, the households, right, they are building bigger units to cater the strong demand for this area. Yeah.
So now moving on to the site plan. Okay, so as you can see, right, they are all very close together. One thing is that when you stay in a low rise, even though your neighbor is very close, right, it's actually pretty okay because you don't feel like very claustrophobic. Just imagine if you stay on a 20 floor of a 40 floor building. Then you look down, you're like in a gorge like that, in a valley, you know. But if it's just low rise 5 floor, you look out, you can definitely see the sky. So I feel it gives more of that landed feel. And then because also lesser units, you also feel like it's not so crowded in terms of using of the facilities and all that. And honestly, I feel that those who buy in this area, they'll definitely appreciate being in a low rise, very quiet area. enclave.
Very quiet, especially now the government is actually encouraging a lot of like sports, right? So actually one of the very plus point, right, that actually condos that is actually connected to the park connector.
So you can actually go jogging, go on the river and all that. I recently sold off a unit at Triver itself, and it faces the swimming pool as well as the park connector and all that. And a lot of the buyers who came in were very impressed that the park connector is actually next door, because they say that they like to go down to go jogging. So I think this is definitely a plus point, because it's all about work, live, play and all that.
So the park connector is really a very convenient thing. And being within the landed enclave, right, for favorite residents, I would say that would be actually very serene, very peaceful. Sometimes you come back from a hard day of work, people sometimes will really love to stay out of the city area already. So when they come back, then low rise. And this road itself, right, is also not very busy road.
It's all landed.
Enclave.
It's all landed enclave. So when you drive in, you have to pass through the landed. And then I think for those who are sending their children to Nanhua, it's very convenient. It's only about 14 minutes walking
distance.
So you don't have to take bus at all. The kids can just walk maybe about 13-14 minutes to school. So it's really very safe. You're walking along private housing landed and all that to get to school. So as mentioned, we met at a low-rise development, and then eventually I sold off a unit to her buyer. And then how did your buyer actually make money? You should also eventually sell off the unit. So did your buyer actually profit or not?
Yes. My client did profit close to 200,000. Total is about 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
I see.
Right,
So I think generally is that it's still profit, but a lot of people feel that low rise, then maybe not so
There's
much
still
profit.
some reasons. So maybe like just now, as we mentioned earlier on, right, because of the no MRT, right, so actually a lot of people have this concern that there's so many condos that is like nearer to the MRT, like example Park Clementi and Triling, So this Faber Residence is like 24 minutes from the MRT. Do you think that projects not near the MRT, do you think that it can still profit? Should we enter into this project itself? Okay, let us share more data with you all. So we can see that from here, right, we have actually listed out a few projects in Clementi itself. First thing, Clement Canopy, we have also Park Rivera, and we have also Whistler Grand. These three projects, right, I would say that is all not walking distance to the MRT. As we know, even for Park Rivera and Whistler Grand, right, it's actually more of at the West Coast side already, at the opposite side of the highway. But you can see that, right, they are all still making decent profits. So you can see from Clement Canopy, they're making like about around 900,000, and average also about 450,000. So coming to Park Rivera itself, the average profit also about 300,000. Whistler Grand itself also average make about 330,000, and the maximum is about 800 over thousand. And given that it is not within the MRT vicinity.
So the thing about Clementi, if you guys are new to Clementi, the funny thing is that if you look at Clementi, right, on the top down, actually most of the condos are not near the MRT station. They're all surrounded by HDBs. So in fact, if it has such good profit, it means that people are upgrading to further away. And why would they want to do that? It's really because of the amenities. Like they stay further away, but at least they have a quieter, more idyllic kind of lifestyle. Or some of them maybe stay towards Clavon side. Clavon side also cannot really walk to MRT station.
Yeah, so there's like the Clementi Avenue 1 side, where Clavon and Clement Canopy is. Yeah.
So doesn't mean need to stay definitely near MRT then will profit. In fact, some of the buyers don't mind buying out of the MRT side.
Yeah, but I think like what you mentioned earlier on, Clementi itself, nearby all the MRT one, that's really very walking distance one. The nearest is Park Clementi, which also need to walk about 40 minutes already. But you can see that the transaction and the profits are very decent. It's just that people that is upgrading within the Clementi itself, right, the supply of the condo is not a lot, and they will love to stay back into the same town, right? These are the few condos for them to choose only. So that's why the good profits shows that the demand is actually very, very strong.
So it's not like a huge supply, it's only these few condos. Essentially, right, those who want to upgrade or basically move into this area, right, they are able to only stay in these few condos. So I think most of the owners are also okay, and a lot of these condos, some of them have shuttle bus.
I think it's the demand that actually drive these good profits.
So you can see Park Rivera and Whistler Grand, they are not near the MRT station. MRT station is super far away. But look at the profits that they have made. Average is maybe about 300 plus K. Park Rivera also about 300K. And likewise for Clement Canopy, same thing. Average is about 400 plus K to about 900 plus K. And it's also not near the MRT station. So like I mentioned earlier, in fact, most of the units that are surrounding MRT are HDBs. The condos are all a slight distance away. But they still have very good profits because people just love staying in Clementi. Because in Clementi, right, you not only have good schools, okay? You have good secondary schools, your JCs and all that.
And all the polys are also nearby.
And universities. So people tend to stay quite long term. Families especially, but I think even like singles and all that, they'll love to stay here because it's very convenient.
Convenient, because it's actually directly on the main green line. So will lead you actually easily to everywhere lah, to the west, to Jurong side, or even to the town. All is actually very convenient.
Correct. So if you work in One North, it's very close. If you want to, go chill out and all that, there's Dempsey and all that, and then there's Rochester. So it's actually very convenient actually to stay in Clementi. It's like very near to all these hubs and all that for work and all. So just now we've already covered that actually condos that are not near the MRT still profit a lot. Now let's see whether low-rise development, is it still appealing and do they still make profits? Because what I noticed is that actually a lot of low-rise developments are not near MRT. Because near MRT is mostly like HDBs and high-rise, right? So if you think about it, actually most low-rise they tend to be slightly further away.
Within like the landed enclaves and all this. So actually mostly are all low-rise lah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's check out whether, they still actually make profit.
Low-rise development that we have extract, right, is actually Key Residence, which is also within the Clementi area, but just slightly further, closer to the Sunset Way, that area. So a lot of people, when we sell Key Residence that time, right, they also say it's actually very ulu. Taking a look at the profit, right, they have made a very decent profit of about 687,000, and average, right, also have about 400,000 profit. I would like to actually share that actually low-rise development, although their visibility is lower, not so appealing, but you can see that the profit are still very decent. I think this is also due to a lot of buyers, right? They are also appealing to low-rise developments.
So as you can see, Key is actually a freehold development itself. And look at the prices for the 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom. 4-bedroom about 2.88, and then the 3-bedroom also hitting almost 2.7. So you see, even though it is not accessible to MRT, but actually a lot of condo owners actually drive. So maybe they park their car, inside the condo. Then on the weekday, they take the shuttle bus to the MRT station. Then they just go straight to town. And then on the weekends, they take their car out and they bring their kids out and all that. Or even if they don't have kids, they bring their dogs out and things like that. So I feel that it still appeals to people who like landed living. And maybe their parents stay in the landed enclave. So it's very, very convenient to just pop by your parents' place and all. So the profits already show that it is pretty attractive and people also want to stay in landed enclave. So the market is also divided to many segments. Some people really want high rise, some prefer like a quieter enclave. So it really depends. So that's why having a good advisor to advise on your entry, which kind of units to choose, as well as your exit strategy is very important. And if you want to find out more, do contact us and we're happy to share more with you. Okay, thanks. But 这个我们不是 cover 了咯。
刚才我们讲了咯。
Okay, so skip 啦。
So 这个我们就
So actually, right, in this regard, Angela, do you feel that buyers still should consider Clementi itself?
I personally feel that Clementi itself really have a lot of plus point. So like one of the reasons to actually consider Faber is that first thing, definitely I will say that it's within 1 kilometers to Nanhua Primary School. And the second thing is the safe entry price and quantum, which later on we will share. And also on the strong capital appreciation, the nearby projects, how it perform. And the second last, it will be actually the supply for the Clementi, for the GLS land is very, very limited already. Yeah. And last one is that what if you have not go into Faber Residence in the coming year or 2026 or 2027, what do you think actually will be the next entry price? Do you think that you can still fetch this out of like entry price if you didn't buy into Faber Residence? Okay. Let's take a look.
Before we go into that, let's actually take a look at this article that was published recently, October. Actually, they are talking about EC prices. So as you can see, if I zoom down, recently my client bought something at Orel. It's a 4-bedder, and you can see the average was 1,007 and got hit about 1,008. So the future ECs, right, they said range from 1,005 to 1,850. So it means that there'll be some units that is lower and some that can be higher, maybe 1,009 or even 2,000 PSF,
Might be high chance.
So high chance if it's hitting 2,000 PSF and then Faber is actually starting from 1,995. Do you still think that Faber is actually a safe entry? Because you have a top school, you're also in a very good area with a lot of $1 million flats, and you're also very close to like Orchard, Holland V, town area basically. So do you think it's actually quite safe to actually enter still?
I would say if based on this EC price, right, you are on a very safe entry, because one thing is that comparing to EC that you actually need to hold on for 8 years for a private condo, right, with this entry price, like almost same as EC, right, you just need to hold on for 4 years. This downtime of period, right, will actually help you to do a flip if you are for investment purpose. So the price wise, comparing to the EC price already so close, you are definitely very safe.
So if ECs are going to hit more than 2,000 PSF, what we did, right, was to actually look at the comparison because even two-bedders will start from about 1,997. Just to give you some context, when I sold at Park Clementi itself, the two-bedders was already roughly about 1.5, 1.6 thereabouts, especially if they're landed view. Then three bedrooms, right, although the sizing is a bit smaller, but it starts from about 1.59. And in fact, right, the recent EC at Orel, it isn't also so much bigger. The three-bedders start from about 883, starting from about 1.4, 1.5. So actually, it's very close
Actually,
already to EC pricing.
1.59 for a new launch price is actually very, very reasonable because, you can see that a lot of time you hit into the resale market, right? Let's compare more of like private resale, right? In the Clementi area, right, even the small one is looking at about 1.8, 1.9 million up already. Yeah, so for 1.59, if you have to have this Clementi address, right, it's like almost quite impossible already lah. Because, I also sold my client's 5-bedroom unit at Park Clementi, right? The price is already higher than this calling of 3.19 already. I would say it's above 3.2 already lah. I have actually transacted about 1 year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so now it's definitely calling even higher for Park Clementi's.
And basically, for those of you guys who are unsure about all the different launches, we actually put down all the pricings for Zion Grand, Penrith, Faber Residences at Sky at Holland. And we heard that Sky at Holland, right, has a huge takeout rate, 2,200 units.
Yeah.
Do you think all these buyers who couldn't get the units might spill over to the rest of these projects?
Yes, and also, like for example, Penrith, right, during the last weekend, we also have very, very good response. As a market agent, right, we know that there's actually a lot of confusion for a lot of buyers that they are not sure which project is actually better for them, which one should they go into based on their budget and their different attributes of it. So do bring us up and reach us, and then we will share more with you also.
Yep, so contact us so that we can give you a good breakdown of this over on Zoom, on the different projects, essentially looking at which is the right layout to buy and what's your exit strategy. So although Faber Residence is a low-rise project, let's compare the nearby resale transaction prices for 3 bedrooms, just to give you some context. So we know that ECs are going to hit, close to 2,000 PSF. As you can see at Clement Canopy, you can get a 3-bedder, pretty good size unit for about maybe 2.1, 2.2 thereabouts. For Clavon, roughly about 2.5. And then for Park Clementis, somewhere in the range of about 2.8, depending on the unit sizes, because they have a couple of different sizes.
Different layouts.
So basically, even for 3-bedders, right, you can enter in somewhere in the range of about 2 mil all the way to 2.8. Whereas the compact 3-bedroom, right, at Faber Residence starts from about 1.5. So you see there's actually quite a big gap and
Big
buffer.
gap, yeah. But of course, it also depends on like the layout, because a lot of people, when we tell them it's 797 square feet only, right, a lot of people tell us the livability, right, is very limited, which we will share more later on the layout plans. So the next one, right, they would like to share for the new launch, right, that's within the Clementi area. One of them is Alta, right, that's launched earlier on. The highest already transacting at about 2.88 million. This is a brand new launch. It's not ready yet. It's along the Clementi Avenue one. It already have hit the total of 65% sold, right, during the launch day. So this is also another strong factor to show that the demand for this area is actually very high. The average at about 2.8 million already. So for Faber Residence to enter starting from 1.5 million, I think it's still very reasonable, because all these prices are already transacted. And imagine this person that already purchased at 2.8 million, definitely you'll be looking at a higher price to sell in the future. So they actually help you to cushion your price already. Like imagine you enter at 2 million. So this person, 2.8 million, I probably think that he will want to sell at least maybe 3 million. So you actually have a 1 million buffer if you enter Faber Residence at $2 million.
Alright, so now we take a look at the capital appreciation in District 5 itself. So to be fair, we have actually sorted based on the recent transactions. And as you can see, even though Trilink is already a much older project, most of the profit is quite decent. Some of the 3-bedders actually made up to about almost 800K. The 2-bedders and all that, they are making about 200 to even 400K of profit. So this is for Trilink and Park Clementis, which are closer to the MRT station. Now we look at Park Clementis, which is slightly newer. The 3-bedder is hitting almost 800K in profit. And then the 2-bedders, even some of them hitting close to 400K. As you can see, these two, they're closer to MRT. Now let's see what's the profit like if they are further away from the MRT station itself. Does it really affect that much? Let's see Clavon, also almost 800K for the 4-bedder. 2-bedder also 300 plus K. Quite decent for a 2-bedder for this kind of profit, basically, even though they're not near MRT station. So people are really buying because they like staying in the environment and they don't see that MRT is something that is very necessary. Maybe they drive already, or like I mentioned, some of them, they have the car at home, but then they take public transport to work, for example.
So this one is another strong point that shows that let's not talk about other districts. just within Clementi itself, even it's not near the MRT, right? People are still ready to accept this resale price and have this good profit gains.
Then for Whistler Grand, is also not near the train station. It's one of the newer projects by CDL. Same thing, as you can see, recent transactions were mostly the two-bedders. The profit was maybe 200 plus to about 368K.
Yeah.
I think it's actually quite attractive. Capital appreciation in District 5, even two-bedders and three-bedders and four-bedders, they appeal to quite a lot of people. They appeal to mass market, even upgraders or even singles or young couples.
Because I think within this area, as earlier on we mentioned, right, it's actually near to a lot of the west area of the Jurong side. We also have the One North or even the town side, all are very nearby. Clementi is one of the areas that a lot of people love to choose to stay in this area. So even two-bedroom side, you can see that the profit is actually very, very stable and very strong.
So now for key residences that we have mentioned earlier, what happens is that even for projects that don't have MRT or school, the three-bedroom profit, right, essentially has hit almost 700K, and they all range between 5 to 700 for the three-bedroom. So you see, it's so far from MRT station, but people like it because they really like staying in the landed enclave, like we mentioned earlier on. So I believe units and projects, even low-rise, staying in landed enclave can still win, and it depends on the unit and layout type that you enter, and that's why for us to advise you, let's say on booking day or thereafter, do contact us so that we can actually share with you what's the strategy in choosing the right unit type.
Especially when in the low-rise development, choosing the facing is very important. So we will advise you on which are the facing that are easier to exit in the future. For key residents, why it can actually perform so well, right? Another reason I would say because of the entry price that time also. Because that time for key residents, right, the per square feet is very reasonable and lower than the normal resale market. So coming back to Faber Residence, you can see that just now we share some of the resale prices. Example, the three-bedroom is already hitting about the average of between 2 to 2.8 million. And for you to actually enter below the 2 million mark is like repeating the same history of key residents, right? The profit, I would say, will be quite decent as well.
History always repeats itself. Important is entry pricing.
Yeah,
the entry
correct.
pricing must be safer, and as you can see, Alta is already 2008. If you're entering cheaper and lower, could there still be some form of price gap?
Another good reason for entering Faber Residence, right? We mentioned that there's a very low supply of new GLS land in Clementi itself. Alta itself is already 65% sold on the launch day, and for Linden Woods, which is the Science Park area, right, it already achieved 94.5% sold out during the launch week. And if you miss Faber Residence in Clementi itself, likely to say in 2025 to 2026, right, there will be no more GLS land launching in Clementi itself already. Another part is that what if you have missed Faber Residence, what will be the future launching prices for the other GLS land? So we have taken a few examples. For example, for Lakeside Drive, right, they have bidded at 1132 PSF PPR. So the potential average launch will be looking at about 2,200 to 2,700 per square feet. Another one, which is at Chuan Grove, the bidder price is about 1,331, and the average potential launching price will be looking at about 2,519 to 2,919 per square feet already. And the last one, which is Bayshore, potential launch price will be looking at almost 3,000 per square feet already, and that's where we're talking about the OCR project. So if you are looking for a good piece of investment, good entry price, I think Faber Residence is the right choice for you to enter in today.
So we have already shared so much about Faber itself and the upcoming launches. We see ECs are hitting 2,000, OCR projects are hitting maybe 2,008 and all that. Essentially what we want to tell buyers is don't just buy based on FOMO. Essentially it's important to buy a layout that is suitable now for you, but also something that can sell in future, your exit strategy. So there are certain layouts we definitely foresee that you need to avoid, and then for us to advise you, do scan the QR code and we can get in touch to share with you what is our projected kind of layouts that you might potentially want to avoid in certain areas itself. So now let's basically kickstart the floor plan comparisons. We'll now jump into the layout comparisons of Faber Residence. So for 2-bed, 2 baths in this project itself, it's actually 646 square feet. There's no 2-bed, 1 bath. The developer is really trying to encourage more own stay buyers. Very standard once you enter, the kitchen is either on the left side or right side. Pretty similar to Park Clementi's, but this one is actually dumbbell style. And one thing is that there's only 16 stacks times 5 is only 80 units. Unlike Park Clementi, where I have 100 units competing with me, at least at TOP, this one you won't have a lot of competition. One thing is that for low-rise development, like this block, the second floor, and the other block, the second floor, will be about the same price. Even if they stack up the price, it won't be like 100K more.
Compared to those like high rise. So like example, when you buy on the 10th floor and the 30th floor, right, the loading is much, much higher at the higher flooring.
So loading will be an issue. So imagine if you have a certain budget type, you might be able to buy something at Faber. It was similar to Parktown Residence, where it's well distributed in terms of the price point. Like the 5th floor here and the 5th floor there, about the same.
Not much difference.
You lose this one, and there's another unit here. You don't don't have to worry so much. Low rise, this is one benefit that we actually see. And then I also did a rental comparison in the Clementi area itself. So Waterfront at Faber is the slightly older project that's next door. So the two bedders have transacted about between 2.6 to 3.4. So let's see the difference if it's actually nearer to MRT. So Park Clementi, as you can see, there's a lot more in terms of the transactions.
Correct.
And the two bedders itself actually go from about 4K to about 4.7, which is actually very strong. As you can see, two bedders, right, they appeal to tenants. So tenants also want it near MRT station. And because what happens is that Waterfront at Faber is a bit deeper, the rental is also lower. Okay?
Because it's not so convenient, which is like walking distance to the MRT. So for Faber itself, just a little tip from us, if you're looking for investment for rental wise, maybe you will not be able to demand as much the MRT or the convenience wise, still have some effect lah.
I think main thing is also entry price, because the two bedders, right, starts from about 1.2 1.3 there. But actually, if you buy low, then you can rent lower.
Correct.
I mean, Park Clementi is now two
Now
bedders.
it's already about 1.5 up.
1.5 up, 1.6.
Yeah,
So you want to
correct.
rent, you buy 1.5, 1.6, you rent out higher. For Faber Residence, maybe you buy lower, 1.3 plus, then you rent out slightly lower also. I think it's quite reasonable, like 一分钱一分货 lah. But as you can see, nearer MRT, yes, you can command slightly higher in terms of the rental.
Correct, but you also pay more. So it's all about the entry price and whether your budget allows you.
Now let's move on to the 3-bedroom layout. So like I mentioned just now, the 3 bedrooms that we talked about, a lot of the 3 bedrooms in Clementi is going for about 2 mil all the way to 2.8. Whereas for Faber Residence, this is a layout that GoGoLand loves to sell. They actually showed this at Lentor Mansion.
Lentor Mansion,
And on the first day, it was fully sold out. The starting price for that one was around 1.7 mil and it was easily snapped up. I believe this layout might be actually pretty popular amongst people. You have good sized rooms all facing the same way, in fact, either to the pool or towards the lawn and all that, and basically a semi-tuck-in kitchen. And the 818 square feet, pretty similar as you walk in. You have the fridge and then you have a L-shaped kitchen as well as a room that can put a good size king or queen bed. So I think these two layouts are quite attractive, and I think this one will be perfect for young couples or singles who are buying their first home. Because if EC prices are going to be like 1.4, 1.5 for 3-bedder, you might as well get something in Clementi where there's a top school. So I think upgraders in Clementi, do you think they will like this layout?
For upgraders, frankly, I would say that they will definitely want to have a bigger size unit because for them, right, it really look very, very compact to a lot of upgraders. I think, for example, you stay in a 4-room flat, average with about 990 square feet. For you to squeeze into a 797 square feet, right, a lot of upgraders may not be able to accept this size. So like what Denise say, for first-time buyers, for couples starting their family, right, this size is very perfect regardless of the entry price or the size. As we all know that Faber Resi is harmonized. So for this harmonized project, right, you can see that 797, everything you want is there. Like we have also an enclosed kitchen instead of like an open concept kitchen, and all the 3-bedroom all can fit in a good size bed.
So for Park Clementi's, the 2-bedder, 721 square feet, also open concept kitchen, they're going from about 1.5, 1.6. So just imagine you have an additional bedroom. So I would say these two layouts they're okay, I think, for couples or singles that don't have any kids yet. But for upgraders, right, I would think that at least the 861 may be more plausible because when you step in, there's a semi-enclosable kitchen. You actually have this flexi room, and we actually checked out that this wall can actually be hacked.
This flexi room, I think, is a very good layout because it's either you can hack away this wall and actually have a bigger dining area, or you can actually close up this area, right, to be a helper's room.
Helper's room or study room. So this will help for those people who need a study or either that family and all that. So this is still pretty attractive in terms of layout. It's like a dumbbell style, compact 3-bedder still, okay? And I did a comparison between Faber, Park Clementi's, as well as Q Residence for the 861 square feet. Like I mentioned, Faber, once you enter, you have this semi-enclosable flexi room that can be a storeroom and all that. And essentially, it's a portrait living room. Portrait living room with rooms on the left and right side. So dumbbell style, very, very compact. Now we go on to the Park Clementi's 861 square feet. As you enter, you also have a kitchen, and this one is also semi-enclosable, and this one has a window. But unfortunately, here doesn't have a window for the Faber Residence. So this one you can actually open up to ventilate and all that. Also, same thing, you have portrait living and dining space. One room can only put a single, and the other room will be a bit darker because it will face probably the walkway and all that, versus the other Faber Residence that's all facing out. But you get a much larger master bedroom. Now let's take a look at, for example, Key Residence, which is also District 5, a pretty new project. Same thing, 861 as you enter. They actually have a very nice little store over here. Also same thing, basically portrait living dining space. One of the bedrooms look really, really small. This one I think can only fit maybe a single bed. And then this one a good size master. And then your 2 baths over here.
So overall, the three comparison, I would say that in terms of the room size, Faber will win over Park Clementi's and Key Residence. But if come to like example, if you want to more have an enclosed kitchen, right, Park Clementi's and Key, right, will actually have a better choice over Faber lah. Because Faber one is actually, I would say that it's quite difficult to close it up lah.
Yes, because essentially Faber, right, you have the additional option of a storeroom or helper's room. The other two don't have. But your kitchen is better. Like Key, you have an enclosable kitchen.
Correct.
And then for Park Clementi's, also same thing. So it depends on the buyer's priority. If they want a storeroom, then they'll go for Faber. But if they prefer bigger kitchen, like they cook a lot themselves, for example, then
kitchen.
Park Clementi's or either that Key. Now let's go on to the slightly bigger layout comparison for the 1033 square feet.
So let's come up to Faber Residence first. For this 1033 layout, so once you step in, right, we have actually both a dry and a wet kitchen, and there's also a household shelter within the kitchen itself. We also have the windows for ventilation. Again, it's also a portrait living and dining area with all the 3-bedroom size, right, which actually can fit in a queen size bed. And at the same time here, right, this time round, instead of the flexi that is actually nearer to the dining area, we have the flexi room over here.
Wow, actually this is actually quite helpful. So I can actually enclose up this side, okay?
one.
And then I can make this my walk-in wardrobe as well. So I think this forms up as a little mini storeroom as well.
Or you can always convert this one to become your kids' study room or area like this. So coming to the next one, which is Park Clementi's, which also is 1044 square feet, right? We also have a 3-bedroom, just that this bedroom only can fit in a single bed instead of queen size bed. Of course, they also have a dry and wet kitchen. They have an enclosed kitchen and a yard. And their store is also inside their kitchen itself. But something I like about Park Clementi's is that they actually have a landscape
Living and
the dining area, and actually also have a little foyer over here, so you don't need to look into the whole unit as well. So coming to Triling also, Triling is also another project that is next to Park Clementi's. Is also at 1044 square feet. Okay, but this time around, the 3-bedroom, right, the other 2-bedroom only can fit in a single bed. But good thing is that they also have a study over here lah. But I think this wall cannot hack, right? Denise?
This one cannot, but I think this thinner one can.
I would say that this thicker wall, right, if you want to actually make the room bigger, right, it's also not possible, but only can make the living room bigger. So overall, all in all, I would say that portrait living and dining, if you're looking for more of a landscape one, maybe Park Clementi's might be a better choice lah, comparing to the 1033 and 1044 size. But again, Faber, because it's harmonized, so this 1033 actually look bigger compared to Park Clementi's, which is not harmonized.
In our 4-bedroom segment, we actually did up a layout comparison of resale as well as newer projects within the area itself in Clementi. So if you'd like to have a copy, do scan the QR code and we are happy to share more of the 4-bedroom comparison with you guys.
Or just text us, then we will actually share more of the layout plans and actually which layouts is actually better for you for exit strategy or for own stay.
Next, I move on to the last layout, which only has 20 units within this project itself. So it's super, super rare. And oh my goodness, this is a photocopy of Lentor Mansion itself.
Lentor Mansion 2.0.
Yeah, so as you enter, right, there's actually this powder room over here. You have a bomb shelter. And what I really like is this huge, huge kitchen. You know, like in Lentor Mansion, they actually have this dry kitchen, wet kitchen. What I like is that they actually put everything in and give you a giant kitchen.
Which I think is better. A lot of times, I think nowadays, those that do heavy cooking, right, they will prefer everything inside the wet kitchen. And then one thing is that you have actually 5 very good sized bedrooms. If those people want a bigger living room, you can actually choose to hack this. And what I noticed that I really like also is the master bedroom. It's actually so big. Yeah, you can even put a study table here and all that. And then room size, I would say actually quite good space. This is really good for like intergenerational living itself. So I think Waco Land really had a very good layout for this. And because there's only 4 stacks, it's only 20 units. 20 units
only.
Very,
very, very rare.
So when it comes to the resale, right, you're so niche actually within the development itself, it will actually drive a very good demand.
So now let's take a look at 5-bedroom comparisons in other projects itself. What's the asking price? So already in Park Clementi's, right, it's starting from about 3.22 for the 4-bed. Just a reminder, for Faber, the 5-bed actually starts from 3.19 million. And for Park Clementi's, you can see it's between 3.2 to 3.5. And for the 5-bedder, very large size, 1,007, but pre-harmonized, it's starting from about 3.8. These are actual live asking prices of current listings in the market.
You can see that their 4-bedroom, right, is calling even higher than our 5-bedroom prices already. So this one gives a safe entry price for Faber Residences.
Okay, so as you know in Clementi, right, in fact, it's flanked by a lot of HDBs, and there are also a lot of upgraders and a lot of new BTO projects that are reaching MOP. If they're making 800 to 900K of profit, just imagine how much can they actually leverage for the next property. And essentially, if they're selling a 5-room flat, they won't be moving back to a 1-room flat,
they
right?
will want to upgrade to a 4 or 5 bedroom condo.
So that's why for us itself, when we do the analysis for you guys, scan the QR code so we can share more about your exit strategy in future. What sort of buyers can you sell to? Can they also then afford the unit type that you want to sell? So it also depends, your exit strategy and your profitability really depends on these few factors, and we'll love to share more with you guys. Just scan the QR code. But we can see that the 4-room flats and 5-room flats in Clementi itself make very good profits. Essentially, they only have 3 bedrooms, so it's likely that when they want to look for 4 or 5 bedroom, if they have a big family, there's only that many projects that we actually shared with you just now. So if they don't want to pay 3.8 million for 5 bedder at Park Clementi, they may have to look at other options.
Other options, yeah.
So if you bought 3.2, could you possibly maybe sell 3.7 or 3.8 down the line, right?
Yeah.
Also, in Clementi itself, just to remind for those people who are unaware, in fact, for BTOs, they no longer build any 5-room flats. They build only 5-room flats in like Bukit Panjang, Sembawang, Tampines, and Woodlands, but very few actually in places like
Within
Bukit
like
Merah,
the Queenstown, the
Toa Payoh,
Clementi
and
area.
Clementi. So Angela, do you feel that it's still actually worth it to buy Faber Residence?
Let's talk about the 2-bedroom first. So for the 2-bedroom, there's only a total of about 80 units. So in an investment point of view, I would say that coming into the resale or the rental market, right, you will not be so much competition compared to you have 100 to 200 of units to be selling or renting at the same time. So 80 units in total, maybe about 20% on rental. It's only about 16 units. So definitely not so much of a competition. Yeah. So how about 3-bedroom? What do you think, Denise?
For 3-bedroom type, as you can see, there are several layouts. Personally, I feel that the 797 and 818, right, in future when you want to sell, people might see it as a 2+ study. Like they will say that, okay, good size bedrooms, but like there's no storeroom and all that. I feel that it won't really appeal to the
Maybe
upgraders.
a bit too small for upgraders.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel the upgraders will aim more for the 1033 square feet. That's actually my favorite layout. What's your favorite layout?
My favorite layout, I would say that if given on the price point, entry price, everything, I would say that the 8611 will be the one to grab on. Correct.
So basically, right, for 4-bedroom, I would say that it's also still very attractive, and that one we're happy to share more. Just scan the QR code and we'll share more of our exit plans and which unit type to actually look into. What about the 5-bedder? What are your thoughts
5-bedroom,
on 5-bedroom?
I would say that if I have the budget, I will sure go in, because first thing, as we say, the supply is very little. It's only 20 units out of the total of the 399 units. And also the layout wise is also very good for this Faber Resi, because like Lentor mentioned, right, it's already fully sold out. So this already shows that this layout is very popular among all the local buyers
And
for
upgraders.
Yeah,
And upgraders, I think. Yeah.
And I think one good thing for this Faber, right, for the 5-bedroom, right, there's no private lift, which a lot of people actually don't like.
Hey guys, thank you for staying all the way here. We really appreciate you watching this all the way with us. So essentially, don't buy based on FOMO. Let us get a game plan and exit strategy for you, and then scan the QR code so we can actually understand your plans better. Then we can share with you guys how to actually look, which projects to look at, which layouts to look at as well. And then just scan the QR code to get in touch with us.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.